Hey, welcome to the new build series where we are going to go over everything related to your classic car, trucks, electrical systems, the ins, the outs, the do's, the don'ts. We're going to build an entire system on the table. We're going to show you everything that you need to know to be able to confidently, competently work on your electrical system. And we are going to make it much more simple than a lot of videos that are out there. And hope you enjoy it. Stick around. So we're going to start off with the basics, and then we're going to gradually, step by step, work up to the more complicated stuff. So in the first video, we are going to go over the most basic of basic parts of the electrical system and how they work, and build you a good foundational knowledge of what you're going to need to know to properly troubleshoot or build or modify or whatever an electrical system. So I've got myself a list here of the 5 topics I want to go over. What's a battery? Number 1. What are electrons? What's the flow? How do they move around? How do they work? Good connections. Wire gauge sizes, why that's important. The 5th topic we're going to go over is overcurrent protection, simplified as a fuse or a breaker. So, stick around and pay attention. So, topic 1. What is a battery? Besides being heavy. I'm going to draw us a battery here with my little silver Sharpie. This is probably going to be the most complicated thing that we're going to get into in the video series. And with this ain't going to be that complicated. Got your battery post. This little fellow we're going to call the positive. That little fellow we're going to call the negative. So what we got in the battery are basically battery packs of typically 2-volt cells, if you want to call them. If you look in a battery like a clear one, you can see different dividers. So you've got multiple cells that make up a battery. All they are is, we'll just draw one. You just have this plate here. These are lead plates. This one is, we're going to call it a positive plate. Then we're going to have a negative plate. Negative plate. Effectively, what electrons are just little charged particles that move between your positive and your negative, which in the battery is positive to negative. When they're discharging, they go to the positive. When they're charging, they go back to the negative. So, seems complicated, it is not. I drew 2 more of the plates. The negative one is called an anode plate. The positive one is called a cathode plate. There you have it. That's a battery. That's all it is. There's something in here called sulfuric acid, which you've probably all heard of. It's what smells like a fart. Sulfuric, probably spelled wrong, acid. Well, now that we got all that gobbledygook out of the way, this is how it works. Your electrons flow from your negative, boop, 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 to your positive. Draw our little arrows. That's the direction of travel. So your car body is this, in there. All your little gadgets and widgets and whatnots and radio and all that stuff is in here. But all you need to remember is juice flows from negative to positive. So all you really need to know about the battery is that the voltage is right, that it is full of battery acid, sulfuric acid, and that it is charged, and which means that these lead plates are all in good condition. Your electrons are going to come from your negative. They're going to go through your whole entire car, power anything that needs powered, and come back to your positive post. Next thing I want to talk about is good connections or bad connections. These contribute to a significant amount of problems in classic cars, especially ones that are 40, 50, 60 years old or older that have wires all over them that have been popped loose or rusty or whatever. So we'll envision this as our negative battery post. We'll envision this little guy as our positive. So your electrons want to flow from our negative to our positive through a connection. Boop, like that. So as long as these are touched, making good connection, guess what? It can go right through negative to positive and everything works happily. However, if it's loose, we'll say this paper towel here is rust or dirt or just a loose connection. We'll take it there and we'll put our fingers together. Guess what? It's going to impede the flow of electrons, electricity, from negative guy to positive guy. Make sense? So the dirtier or worse your connection is, maybe it's just a wire isn't properly crimped into the connector, call it your connector and your wire. It can move around in there, guess what? It's not going to make a good connections. Your electrons are not going to go from negative to positive. So if you have a bad connection, broken connection, negative can't go to positive. We want this. Simple to understand. Now what I want to talk about is wire gauge, wire sizes, and what's all involved with that. So here we have some little bitty stuff. Can't read the number, but it's probably like 22 gauge. Here, a little bit larger, much more common. This is going to be a number 12 gauge with some thick insulation. And then we've got more our battery cable size wire. So I got to tell you, a significant portion of electrical problems are caused by improperly sized wires. So I'm going to go break this down in a manner that I think is easy to understand first, and then we're going to have a demonstration that'll make it very, very obvious why this needs to be done the way that it should be. So stick around for just a second. Let's talk about an amp. This is going to be one that's going to make you scientific wizards mad. We're just going to call this, to simplify it, a measurement of power or current. We'll just leave it at that. So every good piece of equipment will have a little label on it somewhere, a lot of times just on the box, and it'll say what the amperage draw for that item is. We'll say 10 amps. Now I'm going to explain what that means. So we're going to come over here and we're going to draw a starter motor. And we're going to say that this little fella needs 10 amps to make the thing operate properly. What that means, you need a wire that is rated for 10 amps, preferably significantly more, or at least a margin. So you got a 10 amp load. You need your wire to be capable of supporting 10 amps. And lastly, of course, you'll need a battery that is powerful enough to provide the correct power. So you ain't gonna put a lawnmower battery in a dump truck. To make it simple, here's our wire, here's our battery, here's our starter. If that is rated at 10 amps, this has to also be rated at 10 amps. Same also applies for our next topic, which is OC, overcurrent protection. We'll get to that in a minute. So now for our demonstration. So I like demonstrations. I'm going to give you a simple one. It'll make this amperage situation easy for you to understand. Here's our load. We're not going to call this a battery right now. We're going to call this a thingamajigger, whatever you want to call it, starter. The important thing is it is rated at 50 amps. So we're going to call this a 50 amp load. I have my lift chain, which we are going to attach to these little zip ties. We're going to say that these zip ties are rated for 5 amps of load, signifying a very small wire in an electrical system. So we have a 5 amp wire, we have a 50 amp load, and I've got this little rope. We're going to call this a wire that is rated at 50 amps. So we're going to take our 2 amp wire, we're going to connect it to our lifting device. We're going to attempt to run a 50 amp load through a 2 amp wire. What do you think is going to happen? 2 amps will not support 50. We're going to run the same test with a 50 amp wire. And now I can remember how to tie a knot. We'll just do something simple because it doesn't matter. Now we have a 50 amp rated wire. Now what do you think is going to happen? Pretty much that simple. Your lifting device and/or wire must be rated for whatever the load of the device is. So if this were a starter on a car that's rated for 20 amps, your wire must also be rated for 20. You can't do a 50 amp load with a 2 amp wire. So here we have a V8 engine. It's got a starter on it. It is wired through appropriately sized cables. So if you'll direct your attention to the harmonic balancer and fan assembly there, when I turn the key, it does the thing. So for this demonstration, I have disconnected our appropriately sized cable that is rated for the ampacity of our starter, and I have tied in a drastically undersized wire just for demonstration purposes. So we're going to try to run that high amperage draw starter through a significantly undersized wire and show you what happens. So I'm going to turn the key and try to crank it. Makes sense? You see what happens? It instantly melted the insulation. It's all nice and shiny and lumpy. And on the weaker connection end, it just instantly burnt the wire right in two. So, pretty good example of what happens when you overload an electrical system. Okay, overcurrent protection, simplified as a fuse or breaker. What is that? For this simple demonstration, we're going to use an inline fuse holder. What this is, overcurrent protection, it is a device like that, or like that, or like that, or that, or that, or that, that will self-sacrifice to keep your wires or your car battery or whatever the heck you have plugged in from burning up. The job of all of these devices is simply to keep your wiring and or your car from burning down. So what will happen is, in the case of fuses, that little link in between this post and that post will melt at a, on this one, a 40 amp or higher amperage load. And these are obviously sized right along with your wire and with your starter motor or whatever it is that you're running. So I will show you how this works with the same demonstration we did with the wire that we burnt up. The way this works is these just go in between your loads. One wire comes in one goes in the other. The appropriately sized fuse is inserted. This one here is set up for the medium-sized typical bladed fuse. I couldn't find a 3 amp very small one to go in there, but we're going to put this size in there. It is a 3 amp fuse, and we will see what will happen when we try to start the engine with this put in. Okay, so this is effectively the exact same test that we just did. We have our appropriately sized cable, and we are running it all through this significantly undersized wire here. The difference is a fuse that is triggered to blow when it exceeds a 3 amp load. Same configuration with fuse protection added. I'm going to turn the key again. But you see the wire, cold to the touch. The overcurrent protection device did its job, which is keep your car from burning down like happened before. We'll pull this out and go look at it on the table. We got our previous victim, significantly undersized wire. See if you get a good look at it. The entire length of it in essentially the snap of a finger, just totally melted. It's crispy and hard on this end. Vaporized the ignition or the insulation, and just totally burnt the wire right in half. This is with no overcurrent protection, no fuse protection. This here, if I can pick it up, is the fuse that we just had rated at 3 amps. Did its job. As soon as it detected more than a 3 amp load between this post and this one, I might not be able to see it real good or at all. There should be an S-shaped wire in there. You can't see it because it's gone. It totally vaporized it. So on this fuse, which is significantly larger, as soon as this load going from here to here goes over 40 amps, it vaporizes that little section in between, that little S piece. See how it's got holes drilled in it? That will burn up at 40 amps. What that does is it keeps the wire on this side and the wire on this side from burning up. Well, this is going to be the end of the first part of this video series, and we've gone over the most major components that make up your electrical system in relation to how power gets from point A to point B. So we've got our battery. We know what that is with our lead plates, our anode, cathode, negative to positive flow of electrons. You know, got to have a good connection from here to there. We've gone over that. We've gone over wire sizing, amperage loads, why that's important. This is what happens when you're undersized. This wiring here is what we needed to use. We used this instead. We burn it right in half. And if this wire is in your dashboard, guess what would have happened? Would have caught all your other wires on fire, caught the car on fire, and you would be singing the blues. And just our other size. Overcurrent protection. Undersized wires, weak connections, that is what typically burns cars up. Right here. When this stuff doesn't work together, this is what happens. So, it's a very important session to go over, and we'll definitely be seeing this stuff again as we go on, but the basics right here. Appropriately sized wire, appropriately sized overcurrent protection, and the battery and how that works. So, appreciate you following along, and hope you learned a little bit. Section 2, part 2, whatever you want to call it, we're going to dive off into getting started building our actual electrical system here on the table. So, stick around. Hope you had fun.